Hello there. What is going on, everybody? We are getting henchman type units for Marvel Crisis Protocol. We're going to be talking about some of these new announcements that came out of AMG over this past week. It's been some pretty interesting stuff and a very interesting new direction for Marvel Crisis Protocol. If you guys are new here to the channel, we are giving away a lightsaber. All you have to do is be a subscriber and leave a comment on this or one of my videos. It's as simple as that. Also, check the links down in the description. We have a great Discord. I'd love to have you guys be a part of that. Keep the discussion going. We talk about tabletop games, Marvel Crisis Protocol, also the Star Wars games that I cover, X-Wing, Legion, Armada, all of those. We talk about all of those in the Discord, so I'd love to have you there. Also, check the other links for social media and all of that great stuff. Check them all there in that. If you want to click, if you're on mobile, it's going to be like down here. If you're on desktop, it's going to be like over on this side. But yeah, so check those out. And with all that being said, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about this. So what you're looking at here is Nick Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D. And it was kind of teased just before the end of the new year. They showed a S.H.I.E.L.D. logo, and everybody thought, well, what are they doing? Like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., like the TV show? And this is kind of what ended up happening. And so this is a great kind of hybrid of the MCU version of Nick Fury as well. It's a little bit more comic accurate Nick Fury, kind of got that S.H.I.E.L.D. uniform on. Well, depending on which, they changed it from like the David Hasselhoff Nick Fury to the Sam Jackson version of Nick Fury a couple years ago. Well, actually, more than a couple years ago now. But yeah, so there's kind of like two versions of Nick Fury out there for all the multiverse stuff. But we're also getting what looks to be 3 different S.H.I.E.L.D. agents on one larger base. And so this is interesting, and I think there's been some mixed reactions out of it because Marvel Crisis Protocol has always sort of been a game about the heroes versus the other heroes and not really about like unnamed like generic henchmen. That's kind of where Legion kind of sort of does its thriving. And so it was curious. Now, I actually made a video, what if they did Marvel Legion, where I kind of predicted like a lot of stuff like this. I'll put a link, or maybe up here or at the end of the video. You can check it out. But I've been talking about that, because I thought for a while they would do, Hydra or, and like a starter box of like S.H.I.E.L.D. versus Hydra, how they have like, Darth Vader and the Empire versus Luke Skywalker and the Rebels in the original, starter box for Star Wars Legion. So I thought that would be something cool. A lot of people didn't like the idea. And so, I'm really curious for those of you, how do you view something like this? I think having multiple people on one base still allows you to have something that can potentially work in this game and that might perform a very different sort of role. Now, what remains to be seen, I think there's a lot of questions, and there's also more stuff that they've teased. So this is just the kind of the start of other things. And by the way, that is an awesome Quinjet in the background. We've seen that a couple of other times. Now, I'm really curious if it's also a sign that they're going to release a Quinjet terrain piece. I think that would be a pretty cool one for them to do. But I think they would probably be featuring it a little bit more visible, a little bit more center to the shot if that were also an expansion. But we'll see. But interesting thing is they also revealed this just yesterday. And for those of you who have seen this, maybe you weren't sure, that's a new version of Daredevil. It's certainly Elektra. And over here we've got some hand ninjas, and so that's really cool. And it's somebody asked me in the Discord the other day, I'm like, hey, if they're doing S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, what else could they do? And I thought of several of those, and I'm going to kind of speculate a little bit more. But hand ninjas was one of the first ones that I came up with. If anybody who's played HeroClix has kind of been introduced to the idea of that. While you're going to have your heroes, you're also going to have your lower points, and that's really the question are somebody like hand ninjas or S.H.I.E.L.D. agents going to be like a generic unit? Can you have more than one of them? Or is that like just one? Is that meant to be like Maria Hill and a couple of other S.H.I.E.L.D. agents? By the way, it's worth noting, no tactical rock here. Instead, it's tactical rope. So those of you who've been following Marvel Crisis Protocol for a while know that they like to put a tactical rock on every figure's base, like Nick Fury over here. Everybody's standing on a rock. You have to be standing on a rock. You always have to be standing on a rock. Except in the case of these guys, they're standing on rope, which must mean that maybe there'll be a one-point character. I don't necessarily know if multiple S.H.I.E.L.D. agents is equivalent to 1 point. Maybe there'll be a 2-point character. I think that could possibly be a thing. But and I think that's kind of worth talking about. And like, well, what else could they do? And will it be there's just so many questions, right? Is it going to be unique? Can you run multiples? Is it going to be a 1 point or a 2 point, or maybe even more than that? I doubt that they would be more than 2 points. I think 2 points is the maximum you're going to get for generic kind of normal humans or semi-normal humans. So I just don't see them doing that. But multiple figures on a single base is a cool way to go to kind of keep this distinct from Star Wars Legion. And it makes me wonder, did the acquisition of all the Star Wars stuff arriving in AMG's lap kind of coincide with while this was in development? And if so, did that maybe make them have to change up the direction? Like, I wonder if, and again, this is pure speculation, but I do wonder if at some point it was going to be Nick Fury and like 3 separate agents. And now that they've got Legion, they're like, oh, we should put this back on the thinking board, go back to the drawing board here, because now we've got Legion, and if we do that, it's going to be too much like another game that we already have. So maybe they said, all right, let's change it up. I don't know. That's just something that would be a great question for somebody like Will Schick. Like, did the acquisition of the Star Wars games kind of inform your decision on how to kind of create and release something like this? I'm curious. So we've got hand ninjas, and it looks like we're getting a new version of Daredevil, and we are getting Elektra. Elektra's in quite a dynamic pose there. I can't wait to see more of them. Although I'm not, I guess I haven't used Daredevil yet, so I'm not sure I'm ready for a whole new version of Daredevil, especially when we haven't seen him show up again. I wonder if he's going to be kind of like the classic, like orangey kind of Daredevil, or if he's going to be more like the Netflix show. Maybe he'll have like the black costume, or if he's, I'm curious what kind of Daredevil they're going to go there. But I have a feeling it's going to be a little bit more like the classic kind of orangey tan-ish kind of Daredevil. That's my guess. That's my guess. I want to hear what you guys have to say. But hand ninjas means that it's not all going to be good guys that get multiple dudes on a base. And in this case, instead of tactical rock, it looks like they have tactical smoke, right? Or something like that. That's kind of how it looks. But you can clearly see by looking at the picture that that's also going to be 3 guys on one base. So, going to be interesting to assemble that. It's going to be interesting to see how multi-figure bases will play. Again, will they be unique? Will they be, multiplicable? Multiplicable? Is that a word? Is multiplicable? I think it's a word. I think multiplicable is a word. If it's not, then I'm calling dibs on it. We'll call it multiplicable. No, I can't even say it again. I guess the dibs doesn't count if you can't even say it. Let's move on to the next part. And I want to talk about, what else are they going to do? Because I don't think these are the only 2 multi-figure bases that they're going to do. I don't think this is the only 2 henchmen that they're going to do. I think we're going to be getting more stuff. And so I know a lot of people have asked me, like, well, what else do you think they're going to do? And I wanted to talk about that a little bit, because first off, I already mentioned it, but I think Hydra is an auto-include. Hydra should easily be, you've already got Bob, right? You've already got a single unique Hydra agent, and so why not have like give yourself like a full Hydra build? Have Bob, have Red Skull, have here, maybe Baron Stucker, and and all of these, like, there's so many different Hydra people. You've got Madam Hydra. There's a whole lot of Hydra stuff you can do. So I think there's a lot of options to make this all come together. And I'm also curious if something like this all comes in the same set, or are they going to be individual expansions, right? Are these 2 coming together? I would kind of think so. But here we see three different bases, right? Unless Daredevil and Elektra are on one large base, but it looks to me like her and Daredevil are on separate bases. So are we getting 3 figures in one pack here? Or are these all going to be individual? I'm really curious about that. I'm really curious. So Hydra, they'd have a lot of options with. There's a lot of leaders for Hydra that still haven't shown up in the game yet. And so I think it's definitely a kind of a no-brainer. Next up, AIM. I think AIM is a great option to do for multiple reasons. First off, it's going to be at least semi-recognizable from the name, since they did have a canonized appearance in Iron Man 3. So they're AIM does exist in the MCU, but not in this format. And so I think that's kind of one of the things that they shoot for, is they want to shoot for recognizability. And the fact that they also have MODOK, it means that there's a lot of synergy they could do. They could do an all-new MODOK, or they could do somebody else from AIM. They could do Killian, perhaps, from Iron Man 3. There's a lot of different things that could work with AIM troopers, but I think that would be kind of a cool option for them to do. Another kind of a bad guy option that's a little bit more recent in cinematic universe stuff is the hordes that Thanos brought for Infinity War. You had all of these kind of monstrous things, and they would easily work in this type of format, having them all climb all over each other. But in this case, I wonder if they might be a little bit more powerful than, say, like hand ninjas or generic shield agents. Granted, there were like millions of these, so maybe there is like a 1-to-1 ratio for this for a normal person, and that's why it took the Avengers fighting off, taking out 30 of them in one shot. So that's an awesome. I was thinking either this or maybe the Chitauri, but I don't think the Chitauri kind of have like a regular leader to go along with them, unless you wanted to do like another Loki. And I think if you're going to do another Loki, I don't think you're going to do like an Avengers Chitauri leading Loki. I think if you do a second Loki, I think you could probably do a Loki from the show. So you'd kind of do a little bit more of a modernized Loki, and there's a lot of other stuff from the show, from the Loki Disney Plus series that you could do to influence that. And I don't think that makes it pair up with like a Chitauri. So I think these guys would be better if you were looking for something to align with a faction that exists already. If you're looking for something that aligns with characters that exist already, I think all the ones that we've talked about already work. One more bad guy I want to talk about, a little bit more recent, but how about the Tracksuit Mafia? If you've seen the Hawkeye Disney Plus series, these guys were in that show, and they're kind of like more common street level criminals, right? And like this could be a totally like a 1 point group of thugs. I think it would work in a lot of ways. You already have certain other characters that were featured in the Hawkeye show. Not everybody, and I don't want to get into too many specific characters because I don't want to do any spoilery stuff. But there's definitely ways to make this work. I mean, we do already have Hawkeye in the game, right? So it could totally work. I think it'd be kind of a fun way to do things. Now, I know some people said, well, what about good guys? The S.H.I.E.L.D. is kind of like the only good guys that are out there. I'm like, well, I don't think they're really the only good guys. We also have Sword. Now, Sword probably wouldn't come out just yet, but it is definitely an option for the future. Sword is kind of like the space version of S.H.I.E.L.D., right? So, Sword does exist, but they're just not super prominent right now. Ever since the Captain Marvel movie came out, and then if you've seen any the stuff about what's going on with Nick Fury right now, there's definitely stuff going on in space, and I think that space has definitely been on the table in the MCU ever since Guardians of the Galaxy came out. So I think if you're looking for recognizability, you probably want to lean more towards things that are featured in the MCU. But at the same time, there's nothing wrong with also going with things that are popular from the comics. So I think Sword is something that could definitely show up. Maybe not this year, or at least maybe not this first half of this year, but I think it could show up soon. We'll see if Sword has more of a role to play in some of the next couple of MCU movies. And I think the next one, and you could do some other ones like regular police officers, NYPD, or SWAT teams and stuff like that. You could probably do something like that, but what I think would be a really, really great one, and I'm going to close with this one, the Howling Commandos, I think would be a great multi-unit type of, and this one could be a little bit more. This could be a 3-pointer, especially if you wanted to do more than just 3 guys on a base. But I think that'd be a really cool one, especially if you wanted to package it with a different version of Cap or a different version of Nick Fury. If you wanted to go with more of like the David Hasselhoff version of Nick Fury, if you wanted to do kind of a multiverse Nick Fury and kind of get the more of the classic Nick Fury in there, it could be a cool way to do him too. But I think Howling Commandos would be a really cool multi-base or multi-unit base. Multi-unit. Anyway, lots of dudes on one base. That's what we're going with. So that's some of my thoughts. But I want to hear your thoughts. What do you think they should do? Are you excited for this new type of unit? I can't wait to see more about how they work, how they're going to impact the game, and it's going to take a lot longer to paint them though. You got to paint 3 times as many characters this way. That's one of the downfalls or the bright sides, depending on your take on it. I know some people are a little bit trying to get backlogged, out of their backlog on painting. That's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm trying to get close. I'm getting close to finishing up all of my MCU stuff before the next wave of stuff comes in. I've got, I'm here in the US, so I know some of you guys have gotten other things from Marvel Crisis Protocol first. I know some of you guys have already gotten some of the latest X-Men releases and Hulkbuster and Juggernaut and all this other stuff, and I'm still waiting. So hopefully soon. But, when it shows up, it shows up. And, of course, I'll be bringing you unboxings for those, too. So we'll be building those out and having some fun with them. All right, guys, that is going to do it for today's video. I want to hear what you guys think. Let me know down in the comment section. Big thanks to my patrons. You guys are absolutely amazing, and you help make this channel possible. So thank you for your continued support. I will talk to you guys soon. Always remember, when tying your boots, you want to put the ones on the bottom first as opposed to the ones on the top. And if you have boots on the top, what species are you?